Days wind down with high school, you're probably thinking about one thing, graduation. There's one more, way important thing to think about, zombie apocalypse. According to the article on popscience.com, we'll see it happen. Maybe. It's not going to be easy though. In West Africa and Haitian voodoo, zombies are humans without a soul, their bodies being nothing more than shells controlled by powerful sorcerers. An effective agent would target and shut down specific parts of the brain, says Stephen Schloman, an assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard University. Schloman explained to Pop Science that although the Walking Dead have some of their motor skills intact, walking of course, but also the ripping and tearing necessary to devour human flesh. The frontal lobe, which is responsible for mortality, planning, and inhibition impulsive action, is non-existent. The cerebellum, which controls coordination, is probably still there, but not fully functional. This makes sense since zombies in movies are usually easy to run down or club with a baseball bat. The most likely culprit for this partially deteriorated brain situation, according to Schloman, is as simple as a protein. Not quite a virus, and not even a living thing. Prions are nearly impossible to destroy, and there's no known cure for the disease they cause. The first famous prion epidemic was discovered in the early 1950s in Papua New Guinea, when members of the Fore tribe were found to be affected with a strange tremble. Occasionally a diseased Fore would burst into uncontrollable laughter. The tribe called the sickness Kuru, and by the early 60s, doctors had traced it back to a source to the tribe's cannibalistic funeral practices that included brain eating. To make things truly apocalyptic, we need a virus that spreads very rapidly and will carry the prions to the frontal lobe and the cerebellum. Targeting the infection to these areas is going to be difficult, but it's essential for creating the shambling, dim-witted creature we expect. Schulman says you'd have seizures, twitching, and just look awful like zombies. Now I'm sure you are all wondering what will be happening when the zombies come after you and attack. Well, in this next article, provided by sciencebuzz.org, we'll depict a pretty in-depth scenario. We're walking on thin ice already, and zombies not being very sciencey, but perhaps we can use critical thought and scientific reasoning to effectively plan for the coming zombie apocalypse. Think outside the box here, because everything inside the box is going to get eaten. Here are some things to think about. Are you really going to put off the headshot when you're under pressure? Have you ever considered how hard it might take to destroy the brain of a zombie with your old Louisville Slugger? Maybe you're not the fighting type. I'm not. Or maybe you can fight zombies until the cows come home. But what about everyone else in your group? So how are you gonna keep yourself alive? Invest some thought into zombie evasion. What techniques could you use to avoid inviting the attention of the hungry dead? Might there be a way to avoid their detection altogether? Do zombies find you through sight, hearing, smell? Unfortunately, humanity doesn't have a whole lot of real-world experience with zombie attacks, but maybe we can find a useful analogy in nature. How do other organisms cope with the constant threat of being eaten? What survival techniques have kept them alive? How can we mimic them or adapt to them like the zombie threat? If you fortify an area, making it zombie-proof, what could you do to ensure that you had food, water, and power for the years to come? Or do you want to save the world? How are you going to figure out what's causing the zombie infection? How are you going to cure it? If most of the world is in effect, can it be cured? Or must it be quarantined? There's a lot of things to consider here, and my dad is a gun isn't one of them. So people, let's use our brains before the zombies do. How are science and scientific knowledge going to help us through the zombie apocalypse? So, hoping to survive the horrific apocalypse, we should take some tips from an article from rednecksurvivalist.com. So what I'm saying is that yes, the zombie apocalypse of sorts is actually possible. Not only will you require all the normal things, such as bars on your windows, physical barriers, and guns, but you'll also need face masks to hopefully help prevent you from getting the disease. So here's what I'm doing, besides getting me a few more face masks. From what I understand, a .22 is actually a very effective killing bullet. You just have to make the headshot count. As I understand, a 22 will be able to penetrate the skull, but not exit. It bounces around in there and mashes up the brain, causing instant death. So with my 22 long rifle, I'm also getting a scope and a high-capacity magazine. Ammo is cheap. I'm going to stock up and hope to heck I can headshot them before they get at me. Here's hoping the apocalypse isn't the zombie kind. So, as we go around our hectic lives, always having the thought of a zombie coming, how are you going to protect against it? If you can take some knowledge from what I have told you, you can use it to help you stay alive.